On this breakneck episode of MythBusters, Adam and Jamie are bubbling over with excitement.
That was magnificent.
As they test this viral video.
Yeah, we did it, boss.
But can a bubble pack wrap
Science is dangerous.
really let you walk away from a 35-foot fall?
Still totally and utterly dead.
Then Carrie, Grant, and Tori go head over heels for some Bond carb bedlam.
Look, James, I got a lot of stuff going on right now.
Can a rocket-powered ejector seat
This is the most dangerous thing I have ever built.
really flip an overturned car back onto its wheels? Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage.
This is science in action.
And Jamie Heineman.
Bye-bye.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Grant Imahara. Carrie Byron. And Tori Belleci.
It's about to get real.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
So judging by the fact that we've got this bubble stuff all over the place, can I assume that somebody's done something really stupid with it?
You are absolutely correct. What we've got is a viral video where a guy wraps himself up in a bunch of this bubble packaging, hurls himself off a 3-story building, and at the end of his fall appears to be totally unharmed.
Well, it is designed to cushion things.
Yes, it is.
Bubble Pack was created to cushion cargo.
Take a wild gas.
But can a few inches of the pimply padding break a 35-foot fall? In other words, can this 3-story story really be real?
Yeah, we did it, boss.
Obviously, at some point, one of us is going to end up wrapped in bubble packaging and jumping off a building. But I have some safety concerns about that. How do you want to deal with it?
I think quite simply by starting our testing with Buster instead of with us. Let's replicate the exact circumstances we see in the video. Wrapping Buster in the same amount of bubble packaging, throw him off a correctly sized building, put some accelerometers on his body, and see if he lives.
Works for me.
So to recreate the circumstances of this Bubble Boy myth, Adam, Jamie, and Buster drop in on their favorite drop zone.
Today we find ourselves in a decommissioned military building on San Francisco Bay, and it's not our first time here. For instance, way back when we did awning fall right below me. Today, it is all Bubble Boy.
In the clip, the guy falls from 35 feet. He lands flat on his back, and he's got 4 inches of bubble packing on it. Now, for us to tell how effective that bubble packing would be, we need to do a control, which means that we're going to drop our dummy first from that height without any bubble packing and see what he registers on our sensors.
So Buster's facing 2 3-story tumbles. First, he'll nosedive naked, then he'll take the plunge in a bubbly burrito.
How are we going to compare one to the other? With this. This is an accelerometer, and it can read G-loads up to 5,000 Gs. This ought to give us a really nice, clean comparison between Buster dropping protected and unprotected.
That's the plan. So Adam cuts to the chase and sets the sensors.
I think you're ready, Buster.
Before Buster is hoisted 35 feet
That looks kind of perfect.
and assumes the position.
Poor Buster.
Poor Buster. Here we go. Buster, control, dropping from 35 feet. And 3, 2, 1.
Oh, nice.
A perfect hit.
He stayed together in one piece.
He totally did.
Yep, if there's one thing Buster can do, it's stick a landing.
A perfect hit. Buster's control drop went off without a hitch. Feels like old times. He hit the target from 35 feet. He landed, he flipped over. Now we gotta see how many Gs he pulled when he hit.
What'd we get?
Well, Buster falling flat onto the ground with no protection. The accelerometer says that he took 300 Gs.
Lethal.
Absolutely lethal, like 4 times your average severe car accident kind of lethal.
Adam's not exaggerating. With no protection, Buster's drop was a disaster, and he smacked the sidewalk at 300 Gs.
With all this talk about Gs and G loads, you may be wondering what a G is. Well, a G is 1 Earth's gravity. So when we say that Buster is experiencing 300 Gs, that means he's experiencing a stress 300 times as large as the Earth's gravity. And that's a lot.
It sure is. A 300 G impact is like being slammed by a speeding cement truck. But will that be the same when bound in bubbles? To match the viral video, Buster is carefully cocooned in bubble pack.
Hold on a second, I'm getting dizzy.
Me too.
Until the protective packing is 4 inches thick.
So it's pretty obvious that if we start to add padding, we're going to be reducing the impact by slowing down the deceleration process, that meeting of Buster and the pavement. The question is 4 inches of padding enough to reduce that deceleration to where Buster would survive? I don't think so.
With Buster easy prey buried up to his neck in bubbles, it's time for him to make his 35-foot leap of faith. Adam's not confident.
Look, it all comes down to this. Nobody would be happier than I if it turned out the internet was an accurate source of information, but sadly, it's just not so. It's an information minefield full of some good stuff and a whole bunch of nonsense. And this story, it falls into the category of nonsense. All right, Buster fallen from 35 feet in bubble packaging. 3, come on, Buster. 2, 1, go! Oh.
That was a satisfying thud.
I don't think it was a survivable thud, but it was satisfying.
Buster bounced, but did he burst his own bubble?
With all of this extra padding, we dropped Buster's maximum G load from 300 Gs to 260 Gs.
He's still totally and utterly dead.
Yeah, he's gonna need a lot more padding than this to survive that fall.
Indeed he is. While 4 inches of bubbles did reduce Buster's G-load, he's still 3.5 times over the lethal limit.
So Buster's dead falling naked and dead falling wrapped in bubble pack. Where does that leave us?
Well, I can't help but think that with enough of this stuff, sooner or later you'd be safe.
I totally agree. Let's head back to the shop and see how much it would take for him to survive this fall.
More bubble trouble. I like it.
Next up, it's time to be shaken and stirred.
All right, so we have a myth that involves ejector seats, missiles, and James Bond.
Sounds like the perfect combination to me.
Yeah, it's from the movie. He has a car chase right across a frozen lake, something goes horribly wrong, and boom, car's upside down.
Right, and that gives the bad guy time to pull over, line up his car, and fire his onboard car missiles.
Just as you think James Bond is a sitting duck, at the last minute he pushes the passenger ejector seat and poof, shoots the seat through the roof.
Oh, and that amount of force imparted on the ground causes the car to flip back over, and he drives away.
This could be the best James Bond myth we've ever tested.
Upside down with nowhere to go, 007 seems down for the count. But by deploying his rocket-powered passenger hot seat, he flips his way to freedom. But is this rocketry real, or is this myth on thin ice?
Okay, so all we need is an upside-down sports car and a rocket-powered ejector seat.
Well, the ejector seat could be a problem. Since we don't know exactly what Q's design involved, it could be some high-powered thing that launches people hundreds of feet in the air.
Or it could be a low-key ejector seat, enough to send the bad guy out of the car.
Well, if you look at the footage, when it deploys, you see just a little bit of flame. Now, with a big ejector seat, you'd imagine you'd see this huge fireball after it, and that's not what we see. So I'm guessing probably the latter.
Something that ejected like 25 feet.
Yeah.
And then we find out what that rocket thrust is, we flip the car and test the myth.
Great.
So first up, the MythBusters need a top-of-the-range Bond-mobile.
I don't know about you, but I feel like a spy.
But they got this.
Yes, Mr. President, we'll be right there.
After doing a little bit of research, even to find a used and trashed car like the one in the Bond film, we were talking about $100,000. This one's a little more in our price range. And we chose this car because it has a similar curb weight, it's 4,000 pounds, and we can actually create the same weight distribution front to back. This one should work really well for our flip.
It may not look like much, but with similar specs to Bond's movie machine, this car's the wheel deal. So, cue the ejection injection.
So to test this myth properly, we have to make some modifications to our vehicle. One, we're pulling out the pre-existing passenger seat. Then we are cutting open the sunroof bigger so that it allows a chair with a person sitting in it to be ejected. That was easy. And then finally, we're introducing our own rocket-powered ejector seat. This is gonna be awesome.
Although ejector seats and MythBusters have history, rocket-powered ones are a whole different ballgame.
Hello? Look, James, I got a lot of stuff going on right now. I got 008, he's wanting rockets out of his lights. I got 005, he wants machine guns in the tailpipe. Yeah, it might be done.
With no further interruptions, Tori soon bonds a rocket guide rail into place, before he then heaves in some heavy metal.
We're adding a big steel plate to the floor of the car for a couple of reasons.
It fits perfectly.
We don't want the rockets to burn through the bottom of the car. We want to contain all of the thrust, and this will give us a weight distribution that's balanced just like the car from the movie clip.
And once that reinforced floor is safely locked and loaded,
Whoa, catching on fire.
Got it.
their spy car special is almost all set.
So our ejector seat is finished. Now, if I was a passenger in this car, I'd probably be a little suspicious. I mean, the seat is in the middle of the car and there's no roof. But we had to make these adjustments in order to get our seat to actually work. Now, there's wheels on the back of the chair that hook into a rail. That way he stays on line as the rockets thrust him upwards and out of the car. Now, all we have to do is attach the rockets to it, see if it actually works. If it works, then we're gonna flip the car over and see if the ejector seat will actually flip the car back on its wheels.
Adios, muchachos.
That's the theory. And a Goldfinger paint job later,
Just paint right over the bird poop. Look at that. What bird poop?
and it's time for this myth to live and let die. In this viral video, supposedly a wrapping of bubble pack lets you dive and survive.
Yeah!
But Buster's landing was anything but soft.
That was a satisfying thud. Well, Buster's dead again.
Yep, and I have to say, I'm really glad it was him and not me.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, before one of us gets wrapped in this stuff and jumps off a building, I think we've got a bunch of testing we need to do first to determine how much it takes to be safe.
So some small-scale testing is what you're thinking.
Exactly.
All right, let's get down to the shop and set it up.
Yep, before either MythBuster takes a tumble as a crash test dummy, the guys first plan some bench tests to find out what can make a bubble pack leap of faith safe.
But what equals safe? For that, I want you to cast your mind back to our episode called Dumpster Diving, in which Jamie and I were trained to jump off a building by a Hollywood stuntman.
Perfect.
Now, the G-forces we encountered were about 10 Gs. That is the G-load that Hollywood stuntmen used to keep themselves safe. That is what our target G-load is.
But to reach that 10G target, they need the top of the pops.
Wow, kill this stuff.
So first up, the guys are going to see which style of bubble pack, mini, medium, or heavy duty, has the best cushion credentials.
So many bubbles, so little time.
And how? By dropping a human analog that brings a whole new meaning to the word simple.
Believe it or not, this thing right here is my idealized human. It's a plastic tube filled with 7 cannonballs, and it doesn't talk.
Because this test ain't about chit-chat, it's about getting a consistent drop.
The idea here is to have something that is the approximate size and weight of a human, but has a uniform shape so that we can reliably test the performance of various types of bubble packing.
It's ready.
And they'll start at the mythical 4 inches and double the thickness from there.
As we increase the amount of padding we're using, we're looking to see if we can find any kind of pattern. In other words, if we double the thickness of the padding, are we cutting the impact we see in half?
To find out, the guys attach impact accelerometers before raising the human analog to a benchmark 6 feet high.
I know what you're thinking. You're wondering why we are dropping a solid body onto bubble packaging rather than wrapping it in bubble packaging like the guy does in the clip. The fact is, from a physics standpoint, when you're examining the cushioning effects of bubble packaging, it doesn't make any difference whether you wrap it or you drop it. And here in the shop, it's a lot easier to drop it, so that's how we're doing it. It gives us more iterations, you see.
So they line up the mini, medium, and heavyweight bubbles, and it's bombs away on all three.
Dropping human analog into bubble packaging.
3, 2, 1.
200 pounds is dropped from 6 feet into 3 types of bubbles,
I felt that one.
Yeah!
4 inches thick. It's a free fall, free-for-all.
Wow, that was very, very different.
It was.
But when the dust settles,
Let's check out the horror show of this drop.
the G-loads are ready to be revealed.
Coming in beautifully.
The medium bubbles fared worst, producing 100 Gs. But strangely, the mini and heavyweight bubbles were almost neck and neck.
That's amazing. I would have never called that this would have that result on the bubble package.
But how will these 4-inch results stack up against 8 inches?
Now we're doing the same set of tests again, except this time with double the thickness of bubble packaging material. We expect that we'll get better results. The question we have is how much better?
Hold on tight. It's time to release the pounds.
8 inches thick. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
8 inches of wrap has the human analog making a break for it. The question is, will the rebounds pop out different G-loads?
That is really scary as hell.
This time, the mini bubble had the least trouble with 35 Gs, while medium and heavyweight are both on 40. But what's crucial is that doubling the bubbles has cut the G-load in half.
That was very interesting. 8 inches, very different than 4 inches.
Yeah.
I've always said it.
But will that pattern continue at 16 inches?
3, 2, 1. Science is dangerous.
Double the bubbles has cut the G-loads in half again. And that's not the only good news.
Here at 16 inches, these 3 measurements are effectively the same. That means that the more bubble wrap we wrap around Buster and ourselves, the less important the type of bubble wrap. I would not have called that.
Yep, it's been a successful small-scale test because it seems that with a thick enough bubble burrito, a MythBuster may survive the dive. But their shop drops were short. Will things still be looking up when they raise the stakes?
That was magnificent.
Carrie, Grant, and Tori are bonding as they find out if you can flip a car thanks to a rocket-powered ejector seat. And at an abandoned airfield, first up is some ejector evaluation.
Time to deploy our spy car.
MythBusters, it's go time.
We've come out to the New Jerusalem runway so we can test our Bond ejector seat myth. Now, for that, we've built an ejector seat, and we're gonna find out how much thrust it takes to get our passenger out of the car. Now, this is important because that's how much thrust we're going to use to try to flip the car.
Yep, before any car flips out, the guys first need to give their ejector seat the same thrust as a 007 model with some top-of-the-range rockets.
Now the target height that we're looking for is 20 to 25 feet, but you can't get that with any off-the-shelf hobby rocket motor, and that's why we're using these. These have a 500 millisecond burn time, 200 pounds of thrust each. 4 of them should be more than enough to get our 300 pounds of Buster plus his rig up and out of the car.
And with a quick test of a 4-way ignition system that should ensure all rockets ignite at once,
Set to launch in 3, 2, 1.
you might say they're firing on all cylinders.
Let's do it.
Let's do it for real.
So Tori adds the rockets to the seat,
All right, the chair is loaded.
and the seat, complete with Bond villain, to the car.
We're in.
Our Bond bad guy is in his ejector seat. The rockets are loaded. Now, remember, what we're looking for here is enough thrust to get him out of the car.
Yep, they're hoping to get bad guy Buster off the ground by about 25 feet. And if successful, they'll use the same 4-rocket recipe to try to flip their Goldfinger Slinger.
All right, this is rocket-powered ejector seat. Test. 3, 2, 1, fire.
perfect is right, as their ejector seat propelled Buster right into their benchmark butter zone. But once the smoke's cleared, it's clear that this test isn't just about good news.
Now, I'm not a super spy, but I think I've identified a major problem with the ejector seat concept, and that is filling the entire car with flame. Now, that was just the bare minimum of rocket power that we needed to get Buster out of the car. So, your bad guy, he'd be out of the car, but your good guy, he'd be toast. Literally.
Yeah. The test does highlight the flaw of using rockets in enclosed spaces. But what's more important is that it's mission accomplished.
We achieved everything we wanted with this test. We have enough thrust to get Buster out of the car. We got simultaneous ignition, and we got the 20 feet, even 30 feet that we were looking for. Now is the fun part. We see if this actually has enough to flip the car.
In other words, it's time for this myth to get turned on its head.
Just to recap, we are testing the myth from the James Bond movie, where if a car is upside down and you use the ejector seat, you can flip that car back on its wheels. So far, we've successfully made an ejector seat by using 4 rockets. That gave us enough thrust to get a man out of the car. But now, is that thrust going to be enough to flip a car back on its wheels?
To find out just that, Tori carefully installs 4 identical rockets before an even more delicate operation must take place: inverting their Bondmobile.
This is where things get a little nerve-wracking because we have to flip the car completely over on the roof. We've opened up the top of the car, which could have compromised the structure a little bit. Now, if we crush the car in any way, the experiment is over before we've even started.
Indeed, if the car crumples now, it's back to square one.
Come forward.
So cue the heavy machinery.
All right.
It's a flippin' unusual method for flopping a car. But through a combination of tug of war,
Backing up, lowering.
machine muscle, and Tori holding the blue rope, the guys slowly inch the car into position.
It's very exciting.
Until finally we have touchdown.
Perfect. Well, that was easy. What was so hard about that?
Flipping the car has taken a little effort. The question is, can 4 rockets do that job in a flash?
So Q built a rocket-powered ejector seat for James Bond's car, and so did we. The only problem is that it only takes 800 pounds of thrust to get a guy out of a car. That is a 4,000-pound car. 800 pounds of thrust? I'm sorry, but it's not gonna flip the car. In fact, I barely think it's even gonna move it.
Grant is firmly in the Dr. No camp, but you can never say never.
All right, this is ejector seat car flip. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, fire! That was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, it looks like 4 just isn't enough.
Ain't that the truth? Instead of flipping to freedom, the car barely quivered.
Now, so far, we've recreated the circumstances of the myth, and the results are not promising. 4 rockets was enough to get a person out of the car, but not enough to move the car at all.
Indeed, the math of the myth just doesn't add up. 800 pounds can propel a passenger, but it's never going to flip a car. But all is not lost.
We want to give this myth the best possible chance, so we're actually going to step it up. We're going to make our ejector seat an equivalent to a fighter jet ejector seat. Now we're talking about 4,000 pounds of thrust. I mean, it's a little bit of overkill, but Q might have gone there.
Their first ejector seat replicated the flimsy flame of the film, and it didn't pack enough punch. But this time,
Woo, look at all these rockets. It's like 4th of July.
all bets are off as the MythBusters fire this myth to the max.
All right, so this is our ejector seat. Now, we've made some modifications. Instead of 4 rockets, we are now using 20 rockets. That's gonna give us the same thrust as an advanced concept ejector seat from a fighter jet.
It's an unrealistic amount to ever use in a car.
Right there, 4,000 pounds of thrust.
But will it be the shot in the arm this test needs?
So the whole concept here is that the ejector seat is firing down into the ground, therefore pushing the car over back onto its wheels. but I just have a hard time believing that this Hollywood myth is true. What I think is gonna happen is this car is just gonna go up into a big ball of fire.
Well, in that case, it's a good job that the fire department has arrived.
Okay, this is Bond ejector seat, 20 rockets, 4,000 pounds of thrust. Take it away.
All right, let's see if the ejector seat flips the car. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, fires. Whoa! It lifted it a little bit, but, it didn't flip it. That was sweet.
Let's go see the carnage.
Well, we should probably get that fire put out.
With the fire brought under control, the guys go in for a closer look. Not that it's really necessary.
Now this smoky, melted mess is what's left of the car's interior. The seat completely gone. And even with 4,000 pounds of thrust, that still wasn't enough to flip the car over. It was just too little thrust for too short of a time.
So this myth is busted. No matter what we did, we could not get this car to flip with the rocket ejector seat. And that was at a ridiculous amount of thrust. However, we are not gonna stop here. This is the part on the show where we replicate the results, and we're gonna find out how much thrust it would take to get this car to flip. We're gonna do it old school, Hollywood style.
Strap yourself in, because this myth's about to flip its lid. According to YouTube, a 4-inch bubble burrito will mean you don't drop dead from a 35-foot drop. But according to the MythBusters, you most definitely will.
Still totally and utterly dead, though.
Yet all is not lost, since Adam and Jamie's bench tests suggest that with a thick enough layer,
Coming in beautifully.
Bubble Pack could provide protection, which bodes well for a MythBusters fall finale.
That's amazing.
But before that, it's back to Buster.
The readings we've been getting thus far in the shop are good. They give us a direction, but they're nowhere near our butter zone of 10 Gs. So now Buster here is our new human analog. He's floppier, he's more accurate, and he's going to get dropped from the highest point in our shop.
15 feet is more than double the height of their bench tests, but still less than half the height of the myth. So will Buster's impact on a 16-inch bed of bubbles approach the 10 G load that this myth needs?
Buster dropping 15 feet into 16 inches of bubble packaging. 3, 2, 1, go.
That was magnificent.
Wasn't it?
Buster bounced dead center, but is his impact in the zone?
So Buster's fall into the bubble packaging from 15 feet was perfect. But he pulled 39 Gs upon impact. We're looking for a butter zone of 10 Gs. 39 is totally out. So next up, we're gonna double the thickness and drop him again.
39 is 4 times their safety target. So once more, they double the bubbles to 32 inches thick.
It's starting to get kind of impractical, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Here we go. Buster dropping 15 feet into 32 inches of bubble material. 3, 2, 1.
Poor Buster.
Once again, Buster bounces. But is he walking away?
I would feel like if we were going to see a reduced G load that he would take longer to bounce back up.
It's not the result they were after. Doubling the bubbles reduced the load by less than a quarter, and that doesn't bode well. Because if 16 inches resulted in 39 Gs and 32 inches in 30, they need a pile of packing 15 feet high to get to 10 Gs, and that's just for a 15-foot drop. From 35 feet, they need well over 50 feet of wrap, giving Buster a 100-foot diameter. So if layering up the bubble pack isn't working, is there a design that will?
Yeah.
For a full 60 minutes, the guys stop, drop, and roll out ideas,
What about something like this?
but get nowhere fast.
That doesn't seem to give any improvement.
But then they pop out a plan in parallel.
What if we didn't wrap it in tight tubes, but we wrap it in tubes with a bigger hole in the middle?
So these would crush just like a coil spring on a mattress.
Right, exactly.
It may not look like much, but by alternating regular sheets with coiled but hollow bubble springs, the guys have high hopes.
Awesome.
All right,
So with nothing to lose except their G-loads, Adam and Jamie swing into action.
I think this is a great methodology that's really nice and robust.
And once 2 bubble spring mattresses are complete, Buster's ready to take another for the team.
Here we go. Buster onto modified bubble packaging geometry in 3, 2, 1.
With no Buster bounce, there's a clear difference.
Oh my God, that's like one of the best drops ever.
Once he enters the bed, you never see him again.
But from 15 feet, Buster still took 30 Gs, 3 times their 10G target. So the guys unpack the wrap and come up with one last plan.
You know what I think we should do? I think we should try and make another layer, see what kind of improvement we can see.
So they add 1 more mattress.
In 3, 2, 1.
But is this the soft landing they're looking for?
So our 15-foot Buster drops here in the shop are yielding some exciting data fruit, and I just coined that term. Check out the first drop here. We are dropping Buster into 2 layers of tubes constructed of thick wall, heavy back, half-inch bubble packaging. And he pulled an average of 30 Gs on that drop. That's an improvement over some of the other stuff we've seen, but it's still not in our ballpark. However, for the second drop, which you can see here, we added a layer of thin wall, non-heavy duty half-inch bubble packaging to slow down his deceleration, and it seems to have done exactly that. On that second drop, he pulled an average of 15 Gs. We cut our G load in half.
And to bring the 10G target into range, Jamie's tweaking the tubes into a more shock-absorbing shape.
That cone or funnel shape will allow the bubbles to neatly fold inside the structure, like so, and give us a nice linear deceleration.
And these bubble cones serve a double purpose.
We can make a curved instead of a flat sheet, and we can actually roll Adam up inside it.
Yep, you heard that right.
And we can actually roll Adam up inside it.
So confident are they in their new mattress model that for the next drop, it's out with Buster and in with someone altogether more important.
Now the question is this engineering of bubble packaging enough to save my life? That's what we're doing next.
All right, I hate to admit it, but this bond myth is busted.
Yep, we got the car to bounce up, but it didn't flip over. Plus, we burned up bond in the process.
So that means...
It's time to replicate the results.
Yep, there is one technique that Hollywood uses when they want to flip a car.
That's right, nitrogen cannon pointed straight down should provide enough force to flip the car all the way back over.
Nitrogen cannon it is.
So as it turns out, 20 rockets is not enough to flip a car onto its roof. But that's okay, because now it's time to make something that by our calculations needs to be at least twice that, or 8,000 pounds of thrust. And to do that, I'm bringing out the big guns. The nitrogen cannon.
Originally built for the superhero special, the nitrogen cannon sure packs a punch. But for this myth, the gloves are coming off.
You see this barrel? This ain't a barrel. That's a barrel.
By beefing up both the diameter of the barrel and the size of the tank, Grant's cranking the cannon's power to the max.
Normally, we use nitrogen cannons to launch projectiles, but in this case, we're using it as a ram that fires a solid steel cylinder into the ground, pushing up and hopefully flipping the car over.
And in theory, this mighty machine should be able to flip this myth on its head.
It fits! Whew.
But what about in practice?
We're back at the New Jerusalem runway. Now, we've already busted our Bond myth that an ejector seat's gonna be able to flip a car from upside down to right side up. So now we're gonna get a little Hollywood on it. We've got a nitrogen cannon loaded in the passenger seat. Hopefully this is actually going to flip our car completely over so we can see this Bond myth in action.
So why might the nitrogen cannon succeed where the rockets have failed? Well, for one, thrust. This has more than twice the launching force of our 20 rocket scenario. 2, the interior has been mostly burned away, so all that excess weight is gone, making the car a lot lighter. 3, we're firing from the center line right on the passenger side, a more advantageous position mechanically. And the best part of all, this is still a Bond-type device. It's an apparatus contained within the car that does all the flipping.
But before firing it up, first comes the obligatory inversion.
And if James Bond had one of these, you wouldn't need an ejector seat to flip the car.
Okay, so just to be clear, here's how things are going to work.
Hang on one sec.
Inside the barrel of the cannon is a solid steel rod that's about 3 feet long.
Okay, hold it right there.
When the car's in position, Grant's going to weld the bracket from the rod onto the trench plate so it doesn't fly out. Then we'll fill the tank to maximum pressure, and the idea is that when we trigger it,
3, 2, 1.
the rod will get fired into the ground with such power that the car should twist up and over, landing on its wheels.
Indeed, but it's not just the tank that's feeling the pressure.
Well, this is orders of magnitude more dangerous than what we normally do. Look, I'm a little nervous, right? The cannon could rupture. The valve could have a leak. It could accidentally go off while I'm filling up.
Luckily for all of us, Grant mans up, fills up,
Okay, good to go.
and finally,
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, let's flip the car.
All right, ejector seat, car flip with the nitrogen cannon in 3, 2, 1.
in Bubble Boy, Adam and Jamie finally think they've cracked it.
That looks pretty good.
So what's next?
But with our configuration, I'm starting to feel like this story is actually plausible. I'm feeling willing to get wrapped in bubble package and jump off a building.
Hold on a second there, cowboy. We only tried it at 15 feet here in the shop. I think that's all we should subject you to first before we go for the whole 3 stories, huh?
Okay, I'm totally cool with that. Let's do it.
So back at the drop zone, it's time to crank the danger dial up to the max. Well, almost.
Well, our hard work and our testing have paid off, and it now seems like it is time for me to wrap myself in bubble packaging and get thrown off a building. I'm not going to the full 35 feet just yet. No. The first drop I'm going to do is to replicate Buster's 15-foot fall. Am I scared? I have to admit, I'm a little bit scared.
Scared because their best impact has been 15 Gs, a full 5 Gs above the safety threshold. Hopefully, tapering their tubes will ensure Adam can make the leap and live to tell the tale.
We're counting on the fact that the bubble packaging here is going to save my life, but we've also posited some other worst-case scenarios and implemented safety procedures to protect me in their case. First of all, a neck brace, a helmet, and a spine protector. I'll have a radio earpiece in so I can communicate to the outside. This ought to keep me safe.
Ought being the operative word, because remember, the cone coil springs are an untested technology.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Here we go. See you on the other side.
That's right, because from this point, Adam's under wraps,
Oh, that's cozy.
starting with 5 layers of heavyweight bubble pack.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Then the first coat of their spring system is coiled around him.
Okay, up we go. Keep tension.
It's a good thing I don't get claustrophobic.
Followed by the second.
Pull a little tension and up and in. You're doing good.
But once that's taped on, Adam drops a bombshell.
Hey, Jamie,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I can feel the pressure. It's quite a lot of weight. It's the weight on me is actually quite intense.
100 pounds of bubble pack mattress has Adam under pressure, and there's still a layer to go.
Is it a problem?
No, it's not more than I can take, but I can tell you that when we put that 3rd layer on, that's about as much as a human could take.
It's a worrying revelation.
Here comes the 3rd layer.
And at the full 150 pounds, the weight of the wrapping will be almost unbearable.
It's going to be heavy.
So the guys really need to bubble along
Okay, now I got to get the big tape. Are you guys okay?
and get the final mattress mobilized.
Wow.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Am I fully wrapped now?
You are.
Oh, great. I truly am a bubble boy.
With Adam trussed up like a turkey on steroids, the team carefully cradles him to the drop zone before Jamie gets ready to raise the bar.
So we're going up. Are you ready?
Almost. Are my feet off the end of this thing?
No, they're not.
Then I think I'm ready, Jamie.
Okay, up we go.
But as they start to rise,
Ooh, bounce, bounce, bounce.
the test strikes turbulence.
I can feel myself being blown around in the wind.
Out of nowhere, the wind has picked up, and that's got Jamie very worried indeed.
You guys are going to go that way, and I need the 4 guys on the 4 tile lines. You keep track of Adam, make sure he's okay.
With Adam in a squeeze,
This is like I can feel pressure over my whole body.
they dare not delay this free fall finale.
I'm on the trip line. Adam, we're in place. You're at the correct height. Are you good to go?
Jamie, I am good to go.
But just as they're ready to rumble,
Is there anybody that's not good to go? Okay, we're going in 3, 2.
Whoa, hold on. There's too much wind.
the wind cranks up so much that it's too dangerous to continue.
Okay.
But it's also dangerous to stand down because 15 feet up, Adam's being smothered. All in all, the MythBusters are in a bubble of trouble. The Bond ejector flip
Have a good flight, buddy. Fire.
didn't lift once,
That was pathetic.
let alone twice. Which means the team has a license to kill off this myth, courtesy of their nitrogen cannon.
Just to remind you, this myth is already busted. It's gone. But what we're trying to do now is replicate the results. And what we are looking for is for that cannon to fire the car up and back onto its wheels. Okay, good to go.
There's no doubt about it. This maxed out machine is the epitome of a loose cannon. But it's too late to back out now.
Ready to do this?
Oh, yeah.
Let's flip the car Hollywood style.
All right, here we go. This is ejector seat car flip with nitrogen cannon. In 3, 2, 1.
Good job, Q.
Awesome. And that's how it's done.
At last, they've got air. And for your eyes only, here's the high speed. The nitrogen cannon fired its steel rod with enough force to flip the car a full 180 degrees before the whole thing falls gently back to earth, right side up.
Hey, look, it worked. I have to say, I'm really relieved. This is officially now the most dangerous thing I have ever built, including this show and anything else I have ever made in my life. I am both incredibly relieved and very excited that it worked. So hey, Q Division, if you need any help, I'm available nights and weekends.
The Bond myth is busted, but the flip was worth the trip.
And that is how you flip a car.
I can't believe it worked.
But it worked, and that's what counts.
Right, all you need is a giant nitrogen cannon.
Let's go get some martinis, shaken, not stirred.
Careful about tipping me.
It's the grand finale of Bubble Boy, and Adam's life hangs in the balance.
Okay, up we go.
I have taken some falls on this show before. I've jumped off buildings. I've slipped on banana peels. I've flown 70 feet through the air at the end of a giant water slide. But this fall is different because I am completely passive to this entire enterprise. My life is in Jamie's hands.
Well, Jamie's and Mother Nature's.
I can feel myself being blown around in the wind.
With the wind gusting, they've stopped the drop, leaving Adam precariously poised.
You guys are going to go that way, and I need the 4 guys on the 4 tile lines. Steve, you keep track of Adam, make sure he's okay.
Luckily for everyone, it's not long before the wind falls.
Okay. Is there anybody that's not good to go?
So it's now or never.
Okay, we're going in 3, 2, 1.
There's no doubt about it. The padded pod plummeted. But how's the cargo? Oh. That silence rings alarm bells. The team rushes in, and Jamie is the first to the scene when...
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay.
After a free fall of 15 feet...
Wow!
It looks like Adam and Jamie's bubble engineering has taken the bulk of the blow.
That was intense.
But the touchdown didn't please the pilot.
What happened was the moment you released me, my head came off the board, and then an instant later, it hit the board.
But that rough landing wasn't the worst part.
Oh, I have to tell you, man, the weight of all this bubble wrap was the hardest part of that. It felt like two guys sitting on my chest.
Well, that's something Buster couldn't tell us, huh?
That's absolutely what I call an empirical test. Thank you, sir. It's done. Woo!
While it came close to crushing him, their bubble barrel did protect the plummet, peaking at just 9 Gs. But remember, in the clip, Bubble Boy jumped from 35 feet.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't think I'd trust something like this at 35 feet.
I don't want to go at 35 feet. If I went to 35 feet, I would need more padding, and more padding, I couldn't take it. I think that's the limit of human experimentation.
It just makes me nervous anyway.
You and me both.
So Buster's going to pick up the pieces and wrap this myth for the final 35-foot fall.
He will have around him the same amount of padding I had at 15 feet, and here is why. With all the weight of that bubble packaging around me, it was about as much as my body could take. That tells me that this is the most amount of bubble packaging one could have around their body for a jump off of a building. That further tells me that if Buster does not survive in this amount of padding, the entire idea of jumping off a building and being protected by bubble packaging is totally busted.
With old friend David Harding ready to crunch their drop data, their package is postmarked 35 feet, ready for delivery.
All right, here we go. Buster from the full 35 feet in 3, 2, 1.
That was perfect.
I think that was perfect.
The falling was perfect. The landing, not so much.
I'm so glad that was not me.
But how did Buster fare? Well, for that, it's over to David, the data doctor.
All right, David. Dying to find out how Buster did from 35 feet. What do the numbers say?
All right, the torso.
Okay.
Peaked right around 29 Gs.
Ow!
Yeah.
The head, it's quite a bit higher. You can see it's about 48 Gs.
48 Gs.
That'd hurt.
Dude, that is barely survivable, but you'd be talking funny for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's quite a hit.
I am so glad that I did not try this one.
Yep, although Adam and Jamie's mattress mechanism offered way more protection than the Bubble Boy burrito, this 3-story story is nothing but busted.
So how are we gonna call it?
I think it's pretty clear. We've tested it every way from Sunday. There is no reasonable amount of bubble packaging that will allow you to safely leap off a 3.5-story building. The myth is busted, and the whole idea is busted.
Yep, I agree. It's busted.
Let's get out of here.
On this episode of MythBusters,
Hey, look at that!
Adam and Jamie investigate the science behind the candy and soda sensation that's sweeping the internet. Like chemistry super sleuths, they bust the culprits behind the cola cascade.
No CO2, no foam.
And they can't resist using the gassy geyser for some MythBuster madness.
Cue dramatic music.
Then, envious of the candy and soda success, they go all out to find their very own magic combo of homemade mayhem. And on top of all that, Carrie, Grant, and Tori take on the tall tale that a postage stamp can cause a helicopter to spiral out of control.
Are we nuts?
If we're wrong about this, we're gonna have a really bad day.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
I'm making a rocket out of meat.
and Jamie Heineman.
I'm so excited.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That's what I'm talking about.
Joining them, Carrie Byron,
I'm a piñata.
Grant Imahara,
Don't say anything.
and Tori Belleci.
Oh, yeah, no, totally.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. First up, the MythBusters are going to have a blast.
All right, guys, I've got a fun little experiment for you to try out. I was just doing this photo shoot with FHM, and it seems to coincide with an internet phenomena of people taking 2-liter bottles of soda and dropping chewy candies into it for boom, big explosive.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's all over the net. It creates some kind of geyser that comes out the end of the soda bottle, right?
Yeah, and every time I've seen it on the web or on television, they've trot out an expert to tell us why it happens. And all of their explanations are amazingly different. None of them agree with each other.
So we're not going to test whether or not this occurs.
No, we know that it occurs.
Yeah, we're going to have to check out whether these various explanations are correct, though.
And which one is correct, if any.
Okay.
It's a craze that was kicked off by our very own bubbly MythBuster. Add some Mentos to some Diet Coke, and you get a cascade of swell proportions. But it's these guys, the EP Birds from Buckfield, Maine, that up the ante. Using 101 bottles of Diet Coke, 523 Mentos, and the sort of choreography normally only seen in Vegas, they made the ultimate fizzy fountain. But controversy rages as to why this reaction occurs. And where there's controversy, the MythBusters can't help but wade in.
So I guess it's up to us to inject a little science into the proceedings.
You mean like, is it something in the soda or is it something in the candy?
Exactly.
Okay.
But first, you know I have to try this out for myself.
Yes, I do.
And try it out you shall. With a scale marked out on the wall to gauge the height of his maiden flight, Adam is ready for launch.
So apparently all I have to do is that. Whoop, and drop them in. Are you ready? I've never tried this before. Wow! That was like 10 feet.
The 4 Mentos are dropped in, and then, as reliably as Old Faithful, the geyser erupts.
That is cool. I think we're gonna have to try that a whole bunch more times.
It's a ton of fun, but the MythBusters' mission is to find out exactly what's going on inside that bottle.
Hey, look at that!
Well, amid the chaos, it's clear that this foamy fountain has something to do with the cola's fizziness. And to find out more, it's over to our resident fountain of knowledge.
The gas component of this soda is CO2, and we want to know what role it plays in this cascading effect that we see when we drop these candies in. So the one way that I know of to figure this out is to actually remove the gas. We should be able to do that by just agitating the soda until it fills up this balloon. And then once we've removed all of the gas, if we drop the candy in and we don't get any reaction, we'll know that it was because of the gas. Let's see what the candy does now. Not a thing. No CO2, no foam.
So carbonation is the first crucial ingredient on the cascade checklist. But surely there's more to this Mentos mayhem.
What's up?
Well, we need to determine what else other than CO2 is at play here. So we
If anything.
If anything. So this is plain soda water, and all it's got in it other than water is CO2.
Well, and this is the Diet Cola, and it's got the whole bunch of other stuff. So if CO2 is the only factor, these two things should spurt the same height.
Yeah.
All right, let's try them out. Ready? 2, 1.
Well, that's pretty clear.
That's pretty clear. The Diet Cola, there's definitely something more going on than just the content of CO2 in the candy. Because the Diet Cola went like 5 or 6 times as high as the soda water.
So CO2 is not the only culprit in the cola cascade. The plot thickens.
You know what? I think it's time we concentrate on the soda now.
I agree. And you know, we actually have a couple of questions to answer here. One is whether or not diet soda is actually the best performer. We just have been taking that on faith, but we should test as many sodas as we can get our hands on to really see if that's true. And if it is true, what is it that's in the diet soda that makes it the best?
It's time for a Soda Stream showdown. This bevy of beverages is about to compete in the inaugural Soda Fountain Olympics.
First one up is sugared cola. 3, 2, 1.
With a control of 5 Mentos, regular Coke reaches 1.5 feet. Paltry compared to its diet counterpart.
Oh, that's a nice one, 10 feet.
That was 10 feet. That was nice. Here's soda water. You watching? I call that about 3 inches.
There's a lot of interesting dynamics here that I don't really understand, actually.
No, I don't either. Let's try the diet lemon flavored soda.
So regular soda and diet soda lead to different cascade heights. But with the same amount of gas in each bottle, it's clear that the speed of the reaction is down to the specific ingredients in the Diet Coke. The question now is, what are these ingredients? And now Tori, Carrie, and Grant are going to stamp their authority on another myth.
We're hanging out in a hangar with a helicopter, a bunch of stamps, and the Oakland Police Department. What are we doing here?
Well, we actually just got this myth off our fan site, and what they say is that a simple postage stamp stuck on a rotary blade of a helicopter will unbalance the helicopter and cause it to crash.
So according to our wonderful fans, if you stick a regular postage stamp on the rotors of a helicopter, it can set off the finely balanced blade so much that the result is some airmail carnage.
Sounds like a bunch of fun. We've got our stamps. We've got our helicopter. Let's go for it.
I don't think they're going to let us use their chopper both for insurance and for safety reasons until we can show them that it's not going to hurt their chopper. Yeah. So I think we should probably start with some small-scale testing.
These things aren't cheap.
No.
So before risking cast and cash in this, the team is first going to wreak postal pandemonium on something a little cheaper.
Oh,
I'll take that one and that one.
Yeah,
and that one.
Give us one of everything.
And that one.
Hovering around the $2,000 mark, these remote control helis will be perfect to get this myth off the ground, provided that the team can learn how to fly them.
How hard is it to fly these?
We tell customers that you're guaranteed that you're going to crash.
It's not. Well, that's a good guarantee.
Okay, great.
Because crashing is guaranteed, they're going to hone their heli skills on this unbreakable trainer, which Paul makes look pretty easy.
You are nimble with that thing.
But unfortunately, the same can't be said for Grant. This heli's going belly up.
Okay, give me another day and a half. I think I got it.
Despite the hover bother, the team buys the trainer and a remote control version of the Oakland's police helicopter, which, back at M5, Grant has to put together. This police chopper is an exact 1/7 scale model of its full-size counterpart. So to test the stamp myth in miniature, the team also needs some 1/7 scale stamps.
Okay, what we're gonna do right now, we have a scale and we're gonna measure to see how much a postage stamp weighs. Because the whole myth is to see if, you know, the little bit of weight could unbalance a helicopter and cause it to crash.
Our first saboteur.
Yeah, this is the 45-cent stamp.
We've got 0.15 grams.
As well as the weigh-in, Carrie is also shrinking everything right down.
This is about the size of 1/7 of this, so that'll be about the scaled version of the stamp that's gonna go on our little helicopter.
So now all they have to do is get the scaled-down chopper airborne. But that ain't gonna be easy.
The analogy that I've heard is it's like trying to juggle a plate on top of the end of a stick while, you know, rubbing your tummy. You know, it's that that kind of fine balance control that you need to keep one of these things in the air.
But before testing their fine balance control on this, they're going to first practice on the trainer toy. But liftoff, it ain't.
Jeez, this is a little harder than it looks.
This is going to make small-scale experiments extremely hard if we can't even get the helicopter off the ground.
Yeah.
With Tori failing to fly, remote control expert Grant takes the reins.
Look at the stance. I like the stance.
But he's not accruing any flight time either.
Mayday, mayday.
With the model helicopter falling flat, this myth is struggling to even get off the ground. This is the candy and soda sensation that's sweeping the nation. Inboxes across the world are gushing with these amazing choreographed fountains of froth. But Adam and Jamie are on a mission to determine the science behind the sizzle.
Oh, that's a nice one, 10 feet.
They've confirmed Diet Coke is the king of cascades, and now Adam must find exactly which ingredients are at work.
I've got aspartame.
Armed with the constituents of Diet Coke, how's he going to use them?
The soda water is our test bed. It's our basic unit of measurement here. I will be adding each of these ingredients one at a time to individual bottles of this and trying it out with the candy and seeing if I get a more vigorous response than just the soda water alone. If and when I do, I may find out that it's chemical D that provides the most vigorous response, and we can say, oh, there's your culprit.
That's the plan. And first up is A for aspartame, Diet Coke's artificial sweetener. Adam makes up a solution of the sugar substitute, adds it to the soda water, and gets ready to drop in a Mentos.
There we go.
Remember, in their earlier test, soda water plus Mentos equaled 3 inches. So, what will happen with the sweetener added? Sweet. The sweeteners made the cascade 20 times higher.
Now that's interesting.
That's a much more vigorous reaction than the soda water alone. Aspartame is doing something to the water.
But what about the other main ingredients? First, the acids. But neither the citric acid nor the phosphoric acid excite any alchemy, or for that matter, Adam.
Total bupkis in terms of reaction.
Then it's the preservative, potassium benzoate.
That in and of itself is a little bit of a reaction. Let's see what happens when I add the candy.
The preservative also enhances the cascade.
It's almost an identical reaction to the aspartame.
Last up is the caffeine.
This is a couple of tablespoons of caffeine in solution, pure powdered caffeine. This is probably enough to kill you. It's scary stuff when you start to increase the concentration. Again, the same kind of reaction. Caffeine, potassium benzoate, and aspartame all had pretty much identical reactions.
So, Adam and Jamie have isolated the key active ingredients in the Diet Coke. Next, they're going to find out what the Mentos bring to the Cascade Carnival. Carrie, Grant, and Tori are investigating a copter calamity. Can posting a postage stamp on the precisely engineered rotor blades do this? The team is starting its myth-busting in miniature, but it's not going well.
Just pretend like the floor's not there.
And with test time approaching on Grant's deluxe model, they need a plan B.
This is a very expensive model, and people generally crash these the first time they fly them, and we actually want to get some good data from it. So we are going to start these tests having this helicopter completely tethered down.
We've securely fastened the helicopter to the table, and the reason is that we want to actually see the blade deflection. We don't want the helicopter actually getting lift and moving all over the place. What we're interested in at this point is looking at how far that postage stamp will deflect the blade and what effect that has.
And to see this, they've put a marked scale behind the chopper, which, when coupled with the high-speed camera, will show them precisely how much wobble there is in the rotors.
Throttle. Good.
Ready? Go. Okay, so this will be our baseline test, just stock blades, no additional weight.
Okay.
Grant cranks the speed up to level 5 and then cues the high-speed camera.
We're at speed, ready to capture.
And sure enough, without any added weight, the heli blades are in perfect balance. They're rotating exactly on the level of the blue line in the background.
We just finished our baseline test. We saw that our blades are totally balanced. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put on a 1/7 scale postage stamp and see what happens.
The stamp, like the model heli, is 1/7 normal size. That's just 0.02 grams. Will it really be enough to cause the chopper to become a dropper?
Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean,
the stamp doesn't look like it's having any effect.
No.
And the high speed agrees. With the stamp, the blades are just as balanced as they were without it. So what does this mean for the myth?
Based on our scale test with a scale postage stamp and the closest thing that we can get in scale to a real helicopter, this myth is looking busted.
It may be looking busted, but the team still want to find out exactly what it takes to turn this heli into jelly. So they're going to up the ante with the weight of 200 stamps.
I don't know if it's just my imagination, but it looks a little wobbly to me.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard to tell though. I mean, I don't see it going out of control.
No, definitely not.
Not destruction.
There sure ain't any destruction. And in fact, with this view, it's clear there still isn't any rock or roll. Adam and Jamie are trying to figure out the theory behind the chaos when Diet Coke and Mentos meet. Our super sleuths have found the ingredients in the soda that cause the fountain to froth. But what do the Mentos bring to the party? Adam has checked out the mint Mentos ingredients, and he's narrowed down a suspect or two that may be of interest: gum arabic and gelatin.
Let's pour in this gum arabic and see if it makes the water want to release more CO2 faster.
And so it does. Look at that. I'd call that a reaction.
Sure enough, both of the ingredients cause bubbles to burst forth. But there must be more to the Mentos magic than that.
The most common theory about what's going on in this reaction between the candy and the soda is what's called nucleation. Basically, the idea is that the surface of the candy is covered with microscopic pits and lots of more surface area than you can actually see. And each little pit, each little corner provides what's called a nucleation site, or a place where a carbon dioxide bubble can form and escape.
Look at a Mentos close up, and it's like the surface of the moon. And that might be the candy key. Drop one in cola, and every tiny crater provides a site where a CO2 molecule can change to gas. Because Mentos are so pitted, the theory is that millions of CO2 bubbles are formed in a very short space of time. And because the candy sinks and this rapid release of gas happens at the bottom of the cola, you get that famous fountain. To test this nucleation theory, they're going to start with a control: one regular mint Mentos dropped in soda water. And sure enough, it gets the bubbly party started. Now, to do a comparison.
These two candies are made by the same manufacturer, and as far as I'm aware, even using the same process. But the colored version of this actually has a glazing over it. It's a wax coating or a sealer that inhibits the nucleation process that the other one achieves quite readily.
The shiniest surface should lower the nucleation sites, meaning less of an immediate eruption.
That's not doing anything more than the wall of the plastic bottle itself.
Sure enough, with the smooth Mentos, there ain't no whiz with the fizz, proving that nucleation is the prime mover on the active ingredient checklist. And with all the culprits exposed, the MythBusters can say they finally cracked the case of the candy and cola cascade.
So you guys come up with anything? What causes a reaction?
Yep, we sure did. And we also busted everything that we've seen in the media, because not a single one of them came up with a complete explanation of what is going on with this soda.
They all had a piece of the puzzle. In fact, it turns out that it's a combination of most of the explanations we've read. The primary initiator of the reaction is nucleation, the candy helping bubbles to form in the soda. but it turns out that the ingredients that make up the candy match perfectly with the ingredients that make up the soda to create what's called a cascade effect, whereby the soda wants to let go of all of its CO2 instantaneously. And that's what makes the explosion happen.
But the fun ain't done yet. In an attempt to put the power of the cascade to work, Jamie and Adam build a cola concept rocket.
Here's to a successful launch.
You got it.
The rotor blades of a helicopter, even a scaled-down version, are so precisely balanced that apparently the weight of a single postage stamp is enough to render them catastrophically unstable. Tori, Carrie, and Grant have been small-scale testing, and at least on this helicopter, the myth is busted. So now they want to know what it does take to get that lethal instability.
I say we destroy it. This is why we can't have anything nice.
And surely the weight of 8,000 stamps will be enough to wreak the helicopter havoc thereafter.
Guys who sold us this are gonna be watching the show just... Ah.
With the rotors rotating, it looks like the additional weight will lead to the copter calamity they're looking for.
Get in there so you can see it.
Here we go, going full throttle.
Okay. Right there, that was it. That's what we're looking for.
Ain't that the truth? It was 8,000 more stamps than the myth. But at last, the guys get the chopper disaster they wanted. But this myth is far from over. With the small-scale copter in pieces, it's time to return to the hangar to test the myth on the real deal.
So Rick, have you ever heard the myth that a postage stamp is enough to unbalance a helicopter, potentially crash it?
I have not heard that myth. I do know that the blade system is very sensitive to items on the rotors, which can include balloons, dust, paint, so it can affect the flight characteristics of the aircraft.
If mere dust can unbalance this chopper, then a postage stamp might have an effect after all. To put this to the test, flight engineer Chad has rigged a series of sensors that can detect the tiniest changes in the balance of the blades.
What are the sensors telling you?
Okay, well this up here is called a velocimeter.
Uh-huh.
It's in a lateral position, so it's going to measure vibrations laterally. If the main rotor mass is doing this, it's going to feel this lateral vibration.
And that's because of some imbalance in the blades.
Correct.
To start the full-scale test, the team needs to get a stamp-free baseline. Rick lifts the chopper into a hover, then spins her round. All the while, Chad's computer is analyzing exactly how balanced the blades are without the stamp. So, the copter has been calibrated. It's time for the moment of truth.
Well, this is really the final test. I mean, you can't beat having a real helicopter. And what we're gonna do is take a postage stamp and put it on the rotor blade and see if that is enough to send it out of balance and possibly cause a catastrophic crash.
A 45-cent stamp versus a $1.3 million machine. It's a David and Goliath story that could leave the MythBusters with a very hefty repair bill.
I'm gonna try one of these.
Adam and Jamie have been conjuring up some Diet Coke and Mentos magic.
3, 2, 1. Wow.
They've carefully worked out exactly why these two products go ballistic. But now they want to launch onto a whole new level.
You know, based on everything I'm seeing with what we've done so far, I think we could take this a step further and try and make a rocket out of this reaction.
Rockets are always fun. Let's do it.
Here goes, big boom, Civil War rocket.
Rockets and MythBusters go together like pizza and pepperoni.
Ignition.
The Confederate rocket was a blast. And the salami missile was a sizzler. But now their challenge is to convert an upward fountain into downward thrust. With a rocket to build and nothing but Diet Coke, Mentos, and a bunch of plumbing parts, the boys are in their element.
So we've designed this rocket to take full advantage of this cascading effect. All of this energy being transmitted out of these bottles and straight down is what we're looking for with a very simple, lightweight device.
dead simple. And as Jamie will demonstrate for us, the PVC tubing redirects the cola cascade from 4 bottles down through a central pipe.
It all comes out there.
But the clever part is a set of magnets holding the Mentos in the pipes until Adam and Jamie are ready for launch. And before you can say National Aeronautics and Space Administration, it's T-minus 5 seconds.
Here's to a successful launch.
You got it.
In 3, 2, 1.
Houston, we have a problem.
That's not enough for a rocket.
Unfortunately, there are leaks, and the cola cascade doesn't produce enough thrust to lift the weight of the piping and 4 bottles of cola. So it's back to the drawing board. And while Jamie goes to work lightening the load, Adam, for reasons known only to himself, puts a bottle of Coke on the lathe. No prizes for guessing what happens next.
Then that could happen, for instance.
I'm thinking he won't want to tell Jamie about this one. Cola probably isn't one of the recommended lubricants for a lathe.
Don't tell Jamie, okay? This is a secret between us.
Luckily for Adam, Jamie's been busy working on a nozzle for a sleeker 1-bottle rocket. And now he's ready for a test.
Okay, let's go for it.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. What are you smiling about?
It's another launch failure. But the MythBusters aren't going to give up without a fight.
Okay, ready? Everybody set? 3, 2, 1.
With liftoff falling flat, again, it looks as if the Cola concept rocket has Adam and Jamie beaten. And desperation is setting in. They've been unable to overcome the fact that there's not enough thrust from the cola cascade to get the weight of the bottle and soda airborne. And Adam, for one, isn't taking defeat too well. It's time to change course before he completely loses the plot.
Rocket's a failure.
Let's go for height.
So the next chapter in this crazy cascade escapade is a height challenge. Since Carrie kicked it all off, and these guys, the EP Birds, raised the stakes, the internet has been abuzz with Diet Coke and Mentos mania. There's even an unofficial spout record of 18 feet. In an attempt to top the record, Adam and Jamie are going head-to-head.
I hate competitions.
Yeah, when you lose.
Adam's first with his attempted spurt into the record books. And to increase the pressure of the fountain's flow, he's making a nozzle.
Well, with a couple of extra minutes and a nice lathe and some aluminum, I did what any boy would make. What am I allowed to call it? A plasma sword? Except instead of a limited beam of pure plasma, it's soda. Yeah.
Not so much Yoda, but soda. Outside, and Adam is all set to use the force of the cola cascade to beat the world record of 18 feet.
3, 2, 1. Hey!
23 feet. It's a home run to start. Next, Jamie steps up to the plate. Reluctantly.
They keep trying to get me to compete, and I don't like it.
Like Adam, Jamie simply uses a nozzle to give his spout more clout.
The only problem I see with this thing is that I've got to get it on there really quickly, or I'm going to get sprayed, along with everybody else around here. So that's the trick. I've got to kind of like have 3 hands to operate this thing. That was sort of misfire. The tube didn't load it straight down.
Not a great start from the Berate one, but a reload later, our mustachioed friend is back.
Well, there you go. How high did that go?
23 feet. It's an honorable draw. But the adrenaline of the competition has clearly gone to Jamie's head. With a mouthful of Mentos and cola, it's not so much a gassy geyser as a gassy geezer. It's probably best that you don't try this at home.
I want to see me do it again.
Next, and the MythBusters are going to join forces and get some real height on this puppy. And they must be confident because they extend the scale to 30 feet. This time they're using Adam's nozzle, and Jamie's gone savory in an attempt to ramp things up.
I have a couple of issues with using candy for this, and the first one is real simple. The candies might well clog the nozzle that we use because we may find that we have to choke down this outlet on the bottle to such a degree that it's smaller than the candies. The second thing is that I figure I can use salt because my understanding of the chemistry involved is that it will cause a better cascade. This release of CO2 is going to happen a lot more rapidly and vigorously with the salt. And not to mention that these nucleation sites that we keep talking about, you know, salt's just loaded with them. So I'm going to try salt, and we'll see whether it performs better than the candy.
So it's salt and Diet Coke. Will it beat the new 23-foot mark?
In 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Oh my God.
I actually could have held it. It blew it out of my hands for a second, so I think I can probably get another foot or two.
You hit 29 feet.
Well, I could probably make it to 30 if you want to have another go.
Another go? You betcha.
2, 1.
Oh! Dude!
They try various combinations of candies, salt, and the other enhancers they've unearthed over the course of their investigation. Before they get everything just right with Nucleation site-rich rock salt.
All right, we're ready up here. Oh! Oh! Dude! That went a full 4 feet above the meter. 31, 34 feet, dude. That is not shabby.
34 feet. It's the new benchmark to beat.
Let's call it a day.
All right.
I think we've set a fine high water mark.
It's all with salt.
Back with the Helly's Angels, and the team has posted a stamp on the blades of this chopper. And they're about to find out if it's enough to catastrophically unbalance the rotors.
I mean, if you think about it, this helicopter cost $1.3 million, and they're willing for us to go mess around with it. If they're not worried about it, I don't think anything's gonna go wrong.
You know, the game's not over. They're not up in the air yet.
True.
The pressure's on pilot Rick. With $1 million chopper in his hands, one false move could break the MythBusters budget. But with the heli hovering happily, this myth is sinking fast.
I think we might be busted here.
The chopper has survived intact. So, did the stamp make any difference at all?
So, Chad, what did the computer come up with?
Well, with our first flight, without the postage stamp applied,
yeah.
With my measurements, our hover lateral, which is the side-to-side motion, measured a 0.173 inches per second, or IPS.
So that's no stamp.
That is no stamp.
Okay.
Okay? With the application of the stamp, hover lateral was a 0.174. So it only changed 1/1000th of an IPS, which is actually minuscule. Because right now I would let this helicopter go with no problem at 0.174.
All right, thanks.
The stamp did next to nothing. It's looking like this myth should be returned to sender. But the team do want to try one last thing.
Now, for those of you out there who are helicopter enthusiasts, I know you've been thinking all through the show, they're only concentrating on the main rotor. What about the tail boom? Well, today, we're going to try the tail boom too.
It's the twist in the tail. One stamp on the main rotor, and now one on the back one too. And there's no hover test for this one. Instead, the team is going for broke.
Are we nuts? We got stamps on the top rotor and the tail rotor.
Well, here's the thing, if we're wrong about this, we're gonna have a really bad day.
Except for Grant, the team has put all its eggs in one basket to bust this myth once and for all. Let's hope none get cracked.
August 1, roger, clear for takeoff on the go.
They're up and away, and it's so far so good. Even with stamps on the main rotor and the tail boom, the chopper's flying straight as an arrow.
So cool. Gee, it feels like those postage stamps are really helping the flight.
Carrie stays nervous, but this bird ain't gonna drop out of the sky.
Wait, are we going back? Yeah. Up the tower. I'm not ready to go back.
Oh, he's gonna go for the slide right in. That is how you park it.
Touchdown. The team is back in one piece, which means it's time to wrap up this postal parable.
Okay, Rick, well, we've been out in your helicopter today. We've run a bunch of tests. Postage stamp on a helicopter blade. What do you think?
It had no effect. I felt no appreciable difference.
Definitely busted.
Definitely busted.
But viewers, keep sending in those stories, because that was a fun one.
So what do you want to do now?
Well, I don't think we're done with candy and soda by a long shot. I mean, this thing is positively viral. It's everywhere. I think that what we could add to this is by looking for the next big thing.
Well, I've got a ton of stuff that I get every day on email from people about all sorts of things that they can do with crap they've got laying around their house.
So do I.
So Adam and Jamie have got explosion envy, and to soothe their egos, they're going to weave some homemade magic of their own, as only the MythBusters can. Armed with science, which they're not afraid to use, they have to follow 3 simple rules. It must be safe, use only household ingredients, and of course, it has to be spectacular. First out of the blocks is Adam, and he's intending to set the World Wide Web alight with a towering inferno of soapy water.
We're trying something an old friend of mine gave me, which is that if you bubble methane up through soapy water, you'll end up with a column of bubbles. Because the methane's lighter than air, it helps lift the column and keep it stable. And then when that column gets a certain height, however high you want it, you can light it, and the whole thing goes whoom in flame. And I have wanted to try it from the very second he told me that this might be possible.
And with a garden sprinkler on the end of a methane hose in a bucket of foamy water, it's not long before he has his very own bust of bubble.
I have been a bubble sculptor for about 20 years. The bubbles are a very fine way to sculpt the real world in a modular form because they are transient. They are not going to last very long. They help us remember how tenuous our grip on reality really is. That is why I sculpted the bubbles.
Their first attempt is a little lopsided, but Adam is poised to feed the fire of his pyromania.
That is so cool. It's water and it's burning. And now it's gone.
Second time around, and for Jamie and Adam, it's onwards and upwards. The bubbles are sticking together nicely, and the lighter-than-air methane is pulling the flammable column skywards.
At first it's like, okay, it looks like it's working, but then it starts to get out into the area that defies physics.
Not only is it getting more fascinating, but it's increasing in funniness every minute. Okay, you ready? I just don't want to lose it. Wow! That was like a movie. That was like the beast dying at the end of the movie.
Well, I don't see anything on fire up there.
That was really cool.
I have to say, for my money, that rivals the candy and soda. However, the candy and soda, that's safe enough for any 4-year-old to do. I mean, at least they're safe from everything except getting yelled at by their parents. This one, it's not safe pretty much for any of our viewers. We've done it. No, you don't have to.
Next up in the household histrionics, Jamie is getting his hands dirty.
What you doing?
Come down and check it out. I'm making a smoke bomb.
Nice.
I've found a recipe on the net, which I'm anxious to try. I've had years of using smoke bombs for effects, but I've always purchased them. So now I'm gonna figure out what really goes into them.
With just saltpeter and sugar, that's it?
You make it like peanut brittle. You know, you get it kind of, get the sugar hot and the saltpeter hot until it's like molassesy. And you can put match heads in it, apparently, so that when it cools, they're there, kind of like a fuse.
This is a replica of the cupcake that Jamie got when he was 9. It's the old Heinemann smoke cookie recipe. And it has something to do with the Heinemann transition into manhood.
In an attempt to make a point about his manhood, Adam whips up a larger batch, but finds out quickly that when cooking with flammable ingredients, it can get hot in the kitchen.
So that's what can happen. And that's why you don't try this at home.
So, now that Adam's been banned from the kitchen, all they have to do is wait for Jamie's smoke bomb cupcake to set. Let's come back when they're done. Inspired by the Diet Coke and Mentos phenomenon, Adam and Jamie are trying to find their very own recipe for homemade fun. But so far, their experiments have been too hot for any normal household to handle. Now, Adam's going to find out if the smoke bomb cupcake he and Jamie baked earlier will rival Diet Coke and Mentos for spectacular fun and satisfy his desire for revenge.
I think you all remember when Carrie and Tori decided that it would be a good idea to shock me during Baghdad Battery.
Oh!
Do you feel God?
Well, all I gotta say is, payback is rough.
They say revenge is a dish best served cold.
That's a good puff of smoke. All right, let's do regular black powder.
What is that? Wait.
Is it a hockey puck? It's a flaming hockey puck.
It's resisting!
Put it out!
Oh,
That's great!
ah, kill it!
In the search for the next big thing, and in the search for some payback, the smoke bomb failed miserably on both counts. That's not the kind of thing that is actually spectacular to watch, nor is it the type of thing that scared Grant, Tori, and Carrie.
Get out of our shop! Out!
So the smoke bomb cupcake was nothing but hot air.
Okay!
But the next test could jumpstart things. A hydrogen and potato chip bomb?
The trick is that you poke a hole in the bottom and you poke a hole in the top, and you pump in some hydrogen, some gaseous hydrogen. And if you do it just right and you light the top, at a certain point when it reaches that golden, air to fuel mixture, then the whole thing blows up and it will remove the tin without even disturbing the chips.
While they get set up, let's go over to Adam, who can tell us a bit more about how it works.
You've got a can you've filled with hydrogen, which is lighter than air, like helium, so it wants to rise. You provide a little hole for it to rise through, and when you put a match over that hole, the hydrogen mixing with oxygen at the exit create a little flame. Now, it's burning hydrogen out of the can, which means it's pulling oxygen in from underneath. When the correct air-fuel mixture in the can is reached, the flame up top goes down inside and boom, blows that can right off the chips.
So, let's see it in action.
All set?
Yep.
Okay.
That was fast. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I didn't wear ear protection though, because you said I didn't need it.
That's what I was told.
It was fast and loud enough to give Jamie the shock of his life. But despite losing an eardrum or two, they can't wait to do it again. This time with ear protection and a remote control ignition system, otherwise known as a taper on a stick.
That would be a light, wouldn't it? You heard it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Adam and Jamie are uncertain because the hydrogen burns with a clear white flame. But burning it is. It's pulling oxygen through the bottom of the can. And when the mixture is just so,
cool.
Very cool. But Adam isn't satisfied yet.
I want to try another, see if we can get the chips to stand straight up. Almost!
Close, but no cigar. The question now is, does it measure up to the candy and soda sensation?
In comparison with the candy and soda criteria for a spectacular explosion, I'd say it comes off fantastically in one sense and terrible in the other. Hydrogen, pure gaseous hydrogen, isn't something that everybody has, nor is it something that's safe to play with. However, the results of blasting the can off of a stack of chips and leaving them almost intact, I mean, it just makes me smile just thinking about it.
After a timeout to think about ear protection protocol, Adam is ready for the next test.
This is one I've known about for a long time. It's called dry ice bomb. Years ago, I went to an ice company to pick up some stuff for Jamie. It's like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And it said, you cannot buy dry ice unless you're 18. And I thought, why would that be? And so I said, hey, well, how come you can't buy dry ice unless you're over 18? And the guy goes, oh, because you can stick it in a 2-liter bottle and make a huge bomb out of it. Blows up and it like set car alarms off across the street. It's really cool. And I was thinking, you're new here, aren't you? Since then, I have always wanted to try it.
So apparently with nothing more than a 2-liter soda bottle and some dry ice, there's some big boom fun to be had. But Adam is slightly concerned with safety on this one.
Look at it this way. I'm crazy, and even I'm putting on a massive amount of padding to do this one. Oh yeah, the cod piece.
Meanwhile, Jamie is working on the dry ice.
I'm cutting the dry ice up because we need to fit it into the neck of the bottle. Once it's in there, we're going to add water to it, which has the amazing effect of melting the ice really quickly. It turns it all into gas, and all that gas has to go somewhere.
So add a little water to the dry ice in the bottle, and the dry ice turns into CO2 gas. And with the lid secured, Adam and Jamie have a pressure vessel on their hands. Now, it's just a matter of time.
Cue dramatic music. It's gonna go any second, I swear. Stay frosty, people. This is still gonna blow.
It's kind of like watching the grass grow, except there's an explosion at the end of it.
Wow! Dude, that is intensely loud.
I've got to say that's louder than a gunshot.
Now you see it, now you don't. And what was a plastic soda bottle is now a million pieces of twisted shrapnel.
That is amazing.
That's one of those things that is, you know, it doesn't look like much, but it's such a shockwave that, you know, I can't imagine this killing you, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere near it when it goes off.
No, it would be a hell of a lot of trauma. You would definitely lose your hearing if you were anywhere near this thing. Well, you know, this is a lot of fun, but I don't think anything we came up with came close to the candy and soda. I mean, it is one of the most perfect parlor tricks I've ever seen. Not only is it spectacular, not only is it totally safe, but everything you need to do it, you can get at literally any store there is.
Yeah, we kind of cheated a little bit. Not everything we used was household, per se.
Yeah, I have no doubt that the very morning after this episode airs, you and I will have thousands of suggestions of other new things to try. And maybe that's another episode, but I think we can put this one to bed and go home.
Okay.
On this episode of MythBusters,
Fly, that's it, come on, fly.
high flyers Adam and Jamie get caught up in a tall tale from the world of physics. They're asking, if birds in a truck take flight, does the trailer get lighter?
They're all flying.
And Carrie, Grant, and Tori get all bent out of shape on the biggest build of their myth-busting careers.
Jamie makes it look so easy when he does it.
If a boat traveling at 25 miles an hour crashes into a channel marker, will it split in two? Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
Is everybody ready for diving?
and Jamie Heineman.
Gets me all worked up just looking at it.
That was beautiful.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience.
That was heavy.
Joining them, Grant Imahara.
Are you feeling lucky, punk?
Tori Belleci.
Somebody order some exploding pants.
And Carrie Byron.
High explosives and electricity. Woo!
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test. Okay, Adam, what have you got for us?
Here's the story. A guy's driving behind a big truck, and every time the big truck gets to a bridge, it stops, the driver of the truck gets out, bangs on the side, and then proceeds across the bridge. He runs into the truck driver at a gas station and says, "Why are you banging on the truck?" And the truck driver says, "Well, I got a load of birds, and they're over the weight limit of most of these local bridges. So whenever I get to one, I bang on the truck, they fly around, and my truck is lighter."
Clever.
So the myth for us is, if you're driving around with a truckload of birds and they take flight, is your truck lighter?
So the question is, will a container full of flapping, feathery friends lighten the load? For years, this simple concept has had big-brained boffins baffled. On campus, it's a conundrum that's frazzled physicists, not to mention the furor on the fan site. Sounds like a job for the MythBusters.
Should we start small or should we go for the whole enchilada all at once?
Well, obviously, eventually we're going to need a truck, but I think we can start right now by going out, catching a bird, building a chamber, and seeing if it weighs the same when the bird is sitting in it as opposed to when the bird is flying in it.
Okay, well, I got some pretty sensitive scales downstairs and I can probably dig up a net somewhere.
Let's do it.
All right.
For this myth to take flight, our dynamic duo have to land some pigeons. And in a scene straight from Hitchcock, the birds appear from nowhere. Pigeon whisperer Adam and accomplice Jamie use a variety of snares, nets, and snacks.
The birds will be too fat to fly.
But their pigeon stalking comes to zero, and they realize they need some help. Enter Kate Martin, pigeon wrangler.
Brought you some pigeons.
Awesome.
Come on, you guys. 2 pigeons in an official pigeon carrier.
Look at that.
Finally, Adam's all pigeoned up and ready to begin small-scale testing. A clear plastic chamber will double up as a truck trailer, and when activated, a vibrating floor will encourage the pigeons to take flight. But this is your gig, Adam. Why don't you take us through it?
I've got my bird flying chamber here. It's got a closed top. The bottom is a screen, which I can vibrate by plugging it into this battery. The whole thing is standing on top of a very sensitive scale. First thing I'm going to do is turn on the scale, which will zero it out. Then I'm going to put the birds in. I'm going to see the birds weigh a certain amount. Then I'm going to turn on the platform, which will vibrate. Hopefully they'll fly around, and we'll see if there's any difference.
So, if the myth is true, when the pigeon gets some air, the combined weight of the chamber and bird will come down. Sounds simple.
Fly, fly, that's it, come on, fly. Come on, take off, take off, take off.
Now there's your problem. The bird just ain't flying.
I don't blame him, I mean, because it's not
He can
like...
barely get a full wingspan in there.
Yeah, you know, he's running into the sides.
Maybe we need to build a bigger chamber.
So plan B is a bigger chamber and better motivation to fly than a vibrating floor. What have you got, Jamie?
My current favorite is thinking about setting up a weed whacker-like affair, and we could put like a half a dozen motors so that there's just it's just kind of whizzing around. I mean, I can't imagine this would hurt him. I mean, it doesn't hurt you, right?
No.
For our animal-loving viewers, let's be clear. Adam's pain threshold is way below the pigeon's. So if Adam's okay, the bird will be too.
All right, so if you haven't been paying attention, my first attempt at the small-scale pigeon experiment did not work because the chamber was too small and the pigeon didn't want to fly. I have fixed those problems. I believe I'm going to hang this, use a different pigeon annoying technique, and I'm using a bigger tank so he can actually fly around. I feel like calling this guy Jackson for some reason. Now, I have a nephew whose name is Jackson, and I have another nephew whose middle name is Jackson. He doesn't remind me of either of them.
Okay, Jackson, you're up. Now remember, all you gotta do is what you were born to do. Fly.
Freak me out, but it's not doing anything to him.
Come on, come on, come on, Jackson, come on, come on, come on.
That's pigeon for fly. It's also desperate because if they can't get Jackson to take off and stay airborne, this myth is grounded.
Okay guys, check this out. I found it on the internet.
Whoa.
Is that photoshopped?
Apparently not. And supposedly the boat hit the channel marker at 25 miles per hour.
Seriously? That split up the middle like, what, 15 feet?
17 feet, actually.
You know what I see in our near future?
Yeah, crashing boats.
Absolutely.
This tall tale of hijinks on the high seas has two halves, literally. We know it happened because it's been well documented, but the myth is in the details. Apparently, in this watery fender bender, the boat bifurcation occurred at 25 miles per hour. Fact? Or has someone got their facts bent out of shape?
So what's the plan?
All right, this is what we do. We rent one of these speedboats, we take some insurance out, and we crash it into a channel marker.
And we tell them we're going 25 miles an hour.
Exactly.
Okay, why not? Well, the $350,000 price tag and a bad rep with insurance companies is why not. But all is not lost. Down at John Beery Yachts, our trio of thrill seekers get the opportunity to experience the power behind the powerboat. And Sean, their high-speed chauffeur for the day, has even heard of the myth.
So the myth that we're working on here today actually came from the internet. There's this photo going all over of a sports performance boat, not yours, but one sort of like that, that apparently was going 25 miles an hour and bifurcated itself on a channel marker 17 feet deep. Now, do you think that's possible at that kind of speed?
In my opinion, no. The photograph that I viewed, that boat had to have been traveling at a much greater rate of speed to do the damage that I saw.
Well, with a top speed of 150 miles per hour, faster we can do. But unfortunately, someone is going to quite literally miss the boat.
Rochambeau. Odd man out.
You're in the chase boat!
You gotta be kidding me!
With just room for two, it's all but one aboard.
That is loud!
It's really loud. It's not like a quiet sport, is it?
With engines and hearts racing, Grant discovers his voice hasn't broken.
Okay. There aren't any seatbelts in this thing, are there?
With the speedo approaching 100 miles an hour, no wonder Grant's nervous.
Wow. Great.
Are you trying to hold my hand?
No, I'm just trying to hold on to something.
By now, the guys at Donzi Performance Boats have realized Carrie and Grant can't afford the fuel for this trip, never mind the boat. And this myth investigation is anchored at square one. The MythBusters are trying out for CSI. That's Crash Scene Investigation. They're asking, can you bifurcate your boat in a collision with a channel marker? The only evidence they have is this photo and accompanying reports that the boat was traveling at 25 miles per hour. To find out if this is possible, our team want to replicate myth conditions and impale their own boat. But with a brand new boat way out of their price range, our crack team of researchers has found the bargain of a lifetime.
This is gonna be
Too many holes?
No, this is gonna be great.
No, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
You think it's seaworthy?
I don't know if it's seaworthy, but it's definitely crash-worthy.
We got this boat for a bargain. It was only $1,500. We're talking about boats that can be up to $350,000. So we were a little apprehensive about when it showed up, what it was going to look like. Turns out it's amazing. The structure is perfect. It may not have an engine, but we'd have to take that out anyway. So we're really, really excited.
No wonder Carrie is excited, because with the full-scale boat dry docked in the MythBusters Marina, the team can move on. And first up are some small-scale crash tests. And this 1/10th model is a great starting point.
Oh, I love this boat. It's my favorite boat. Oh, I don't want to crash it.
Okay, we need to crash these boats over and over. I need to make several of them. So I need to make a mold of this particular model boat. I'll make a silicone mold. I'll paint silicone over this in 2 halves, make a mother mold on top of that. Then I'll be able to pull it apart and lay up any material I want inside the mold.
Done. Okay.
And to match the motorboat in the Myth, Tari's material of choice is fiberglass. It's nasty and noxious, so Tari is banished outside to finish up, which he does by gluing the hardened halves together. And before you can say bifurcation, Tari's got himself some mighty fine toy boats.
He's pretty, isn't it?
Meanwhile, Grant has been working on a rig to tow the models into a replica channel marker, simulating the mythical impalement impact. His remote-controlled winch and trolley is calibrated so the boat crashes into the steel pole in exactly the same place as the Myth, just to the left of the bow. But hold on, where'd the H2O go?
So you at home might be wondering why we're doing our small-scale experiments on land as opposed to water, since ostensibly the Myth is about a boat on water. Well, there are 2 reasons. First, water, not unlike many primal forces, doesn't scale correctly in miniature. It has a different response than it does in full scale. Now, the second reason, and I think more importantly, is that this Myth is about kinetic energy, a mass at a certain velocity hitting an object. And that we can certainly do on land.
So this is a dry run in more ways than one. Take us through it, Carrie.
This is the setup for the small-scale experiment. We have a fiberglass boat, which is 1/10 the scale of our real-life boat. It's also weighted to 1/10 the scale. It's sitting atop a trolley that Grant's created with a smart wheel so that it can correct itself all the way down a long cable, which is being pulled through a pulley into a channel marker, which is set stably into the ground. The entire thing's being controlled by a winch, which Grant can remote control from this end, and hopefully in the end, we'll have a perfect bifurcation as it crashes into that end of the shop.
3, 2, 1, go.
No mythical split, just a glancing blow.
Well, the boat's intact.
And with everything to scale, there's only one thing for it: more speed.
Should we ramp it up?
Sure.
Unfortunately, the only thing ramping up is the frustration level, as the kinks and glitches in their system work themselves out.
Well, that's not gonna work.
I see one problem.
It's one of those days, everything that can go wrong
Oh, we bifurcated the trolley.
goes wrong. But as Edison nearly said, myth-busting is 1% genius and 99% perseverance. And their patience is rewarded when they get some realistic collisions with the channel marker.
That was cool.
But despite increasing the speed, the impact and resulting damage peaks at glancing blow.
Oh, that was cool.
But Grant's frustrated, and his OCD kicks in. That's obsessive crash disorder. He wants to see some damage and hands Tari a challenge.
I will give you $5, and if you can ram this into the channel marker and break it.
Ooh, $5?
I'll give you $10.
That's a whole week's salary, and Tari can't resist.
$10.
Okay, so it can be done. And the team suspect the angle of attack was key. Like in the myth, Tari was aiming to the left of the bow, and he adds a turn into the pole.
If it can do it like that, that shows me maybe the turn is the way to go.
Let me try it again, just going straight, and see what happens.
With an attempted head-on collision, it's back to glancing blow. And with that discovery, the small-scale tests are back on track. To be sure, Tari once again adds that last-minute twist. And what do you know?
Well, that tells us a lot. It tells us it's better to hit the marker at a turn as opposed to just going straight into it.
Finally, a result. But it's been a long and frustrating day, and Carrie and Grant feel the need to let off some steam. Pete Townsend, eat your heart out.
Okay, so how crazy was that it took Tori smashing that boat by hand into the pole before we could find out that we need to turn at the last minute to split it?
You know, I think these variables are just too tough to scale down. I think if we're going to test this for real, we need to go to full scale.
I propose we do this on land because this myth is really about kinetic energy. It's the mass, which is the boat, hitting the channel marker with a certain velocity. And doing it on water doesn't buy us anything extra.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a lot easier to control on land.
Among top-level physicists, it's a fundamental question with a hotly debated answer. If the weight of a truck full of birds is X, when the birds take flight, is it now X minus the weight of the birds? That is, does the truck get lighter? Adam and Jamie's first foray in this myth fell flat, so it's time to look outside the box. Cue the aerodynamicist to speak some geek.
We need your help. We've got a story that's come up that we're testing right now. It is a question that is all over the fan sites. It's if you're driving with a truckload full of birds and they take flight inside your truck, is your truck actually lighter while they're flying around?
That's actually a very often told physics urban legend.
Can you tell us something about the mechanics of flight that would apply to this? I mean, we know birds flap their wings and there's lift involved, there's downward pressures. What's going on here that we need to be focusing on?
Well, the basic premise of all flight, whether it be a helicopter or a plane or a bird flapping its wings or just even gliding, is that it takes air and deflects it downward, and the downwards force on the air will in turn cause a reaction force upward that will help lift whatever the object is against the force of gravity.
Wait, a helicopter and a bird are actually using the same physical principles to fly?
Absolutely. It all comes down to Newton's laws.
So let's get this straight. To get airborne, you push down on the air beneath you hard enough to lift your own weight. And because the principle works for birds and helicopters alike, Jamie and Adam have an idea, which means the pigeons get a break.
Pigeons are what the myth is about, but pigeons sometimes don't do exactly what you want them to do. So we figure that a similar sort of a thing that might show the same phenomenon, if there is one, would be a little helicopter that we can control.
But it's not as simple as that. Flying a chopper in an enclosed space creates turbulence, making it hard to hover. So to run the bench test, Adam's built this rig, which will allow it to lift but keep it centrally tethered at the same time.
Excellent. 52.0. 52.6.
Adam has measured the weight difference of the container with and without the chopper. Now, the question is, when the helicopter takes off, will the chamber get lighter?
Hey, look, lift off! We got lift off! Look at that! The scale is not changing. 52.6, 52.6. Dude, that's liftoff. I so did not expect this rig to work. All right.
In a break from MythBuster tradition, Adam has success with a scale test.
I know that my helicopter weighs 0.6 pounds. So if the myth was true, I should have seen that meter go from 52.5 or 6 to 52 flat.
But that's not the whole story. This myth is about birds, and trust Jamie to get straight to the heart of the problem.
We gotta try it in a truck or something close to it with the birds.
So it's full scale ahead. And after a MythBuster makeover, this trailer, standing in for the truck and the myth, will be full of flying birds for the final test weigh-in.
That's cool. You look like a little animal in a circus cage.
With the front fitted with clear plastic, Jess and Jamie are done. And it's time for a flight test. There are no scales yet, so this test is simply to confirm the birds are comfortable spreading their wings. If they don't, Adam and Jamie are back to square one.
Hey!
But it's immediately obvious there's plenty of room. So, final prep on the big rig begins. The flight motivators go in first. These rotating foam tubes are supposed to keep the pigeons in the air.
There we go.
We have liftoff. Next, the team makes sure there are no nooks or crannies where the pigeons can land and take a rest. It works for MythBusters. But how about the pigeons?
You ready? I have no idea what's going to happen here.
So Adam and Jamie have finally got Jackson and Friend to fly in an enclosed space. Now comes the tricky bit, catching a flock more birds, letting them loose in the trailer, and accurately weighing them. The story of the bifurcated boat has brought Carrie, Grant, and Tori close to breaking point. And to prevent this parable of split personality from sinking without a trace, it's land ahoy. With the decision to move on to terra firma, the team is on firmer footing, because by supersizing their crash test rig, they have a ready-made plan. As before, the reinforced channel marker is at ground zero. Grant's winch system will be replaced by a tow truck, and the boat trailer, modified with a smart wheel, will steer accurately towards its date with disaster. But there's one final piece of the plan, how to get that last-minute turn.
If we learned anything from our small-scale tests, I think the turn is probably one of the most critical things. So there has to be some way for us to steer it into the channel marker at the last second.
To get the boat to turn where we want it, maybe we could do is make a set of smart wheels at the front of the boat, and this will steer the boat wherever we want it to go. And then what we could do is put like a crossbar here, and we'll put a post in the ground, so when this bar hits that post, it'll turn the wheels into the marker.
Cool. Sounds good.
So it's a done deal, and the newly named Mythity Split ups anchor and ships out.
Say goodbye to the Mythity Split.
Its port of call, a familiar dockside destination with an impeccable MythBuster pedigree.
We're back here at the Alameda runway. This is the site of some of our more famous myths. And in fact, I'm sitting on the X right here, which is going to be our channel marker. It's also the spot where our compact in the end smashed into each other.
Hoping to match that spectacular smash with a big bang of their own, the team embark on what's to become their toughest build ever.
Bueno! That's Spanish for good.
Carrie and Grant begin by raising the channel marker into position.
Now that we have the pole in place, the next step is to weld around the bottom of the pole to hold it in place to the plate. Then we're going to lay that heavy, heavy girder to the back of this pole and then triangulate railroad track to it. So it's going to be completely stationary and not going to move when we smash the boat into it. I'm just excited we got the pole in place. I'm gonna do my pole dance. Not what you expected, huh?
While Grant and Carrie have been cranking up the heavy metal, Tori has been trashing his trailer and adding the smart wheels. Now they can steer with a single cable tow, and when the hull of the Mythity Split hits the channel marker, the trailer won't be in the way. Finally, he adds these 55-gallon drums, which, when filled with water, will weigh the same as the missing engines.
This whole myth is about mass moving at speed. So it's important that we have the correct mass as we're moving at the speeds that we're going to test.
Meanwhile, Carrie and Grant are making triple sure the channel marker stays put when the Mythity Split hits.
The next step we have, or at least the next really big step we have, is that we're going to drill holes in various places all around this giant structure here so that we can implant foot-long pieces of rebar into those holes, weld them to this structure. So not only is this going to be the heaviest thing you've ever seen, but it's also going to be clawed into the ground.
Things are going so well, Grant finds time to hang around.
The prep for the boat myth is going great so far. I just hope that the weather holds out.
Just had to mention the weather, didn't you? And as the rain gets heavier, the problems mount, and the work on the final stages slows to a crawl.
I'm so over this one. I'm pretty much over this one.
With Old Testament-style flooding, maybe they could rename their boat the Ark.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit worried that the fans might be upset that we weren't doing this on the water. Well, now we are.
Despite the tough conditions, they pull through
Jamie makes it look so easy when he does it.
and push on for a tow test of the trailer.
I'm so excited. It works. It looks really cool. We got like a boat car, or a car boat. I'm not sure which one.
And with just the trigger to rig for the critical last-minute turn, it's all hands on deck.
We've mapped out exactly where the bow should hit the channel marker, and this, I'm drilling a hole right here for the trigger, which will turn the wheels, slam the boat into the channel marker, therein bifurcating the boat or not.
So the build is finally complete, and Carrie and Tori celebrate. The boat is moved into position, gently. No one wants the wheels to come off now.
All right, now for the moment of truth.
At the opposite end of the track, Grant has the truck all hooked up and ready to tow.
So these are chains connected to the tow truck. Got our shackle. This is a breakaway rope for safety. And then the cable. I think we're ready to take up slack.
And as twilight descends, they're wet, cold, but ready to put this tale to the test.
All right, take it slow and then take it up to 25 miles an hour on my count. Ready?
Ready.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
This is it. Remember, they're asking if a speedboat at 25 miles per hour plus channel marker equals this kind of boat-splitting destruction. We're about to find out.
5 miles per hour.
Can you guys go faster?
10 miles per hour.
But suddenly, disaster.
Did we lose the cable?
Cable broke.
As Tori said, that's not good. The breakaway rope that's designed to break on impact snapped under the strain of the tow. And with this last-minute failure in the fading light, Team Unity is the first casualty.
So for all the other things where we tow something big into something else and it crashes, we use a breakaway rope. And, you know, there's a standard one that we've been using, which is a blue marine rope. We know its breaking strength is 6,000. But on this particular one, Tori really didn't want to use that. He wanted to use this. So, but tomorrow, I think what we're going to do is go back to what we used to use that was working.
Dude, we've never used the blue rope.
We always use the
No,
blue
we
rope.
haven't.
Yes, we do.
Not for the breakaway.
Yes, we do. No, we don't.
Seeing as Grant and Tori are rejecting each other's reality and substituting their own, this argument is on a road to nowhere. Let's come back tomorrow. Bifurcated Boat has once again brought our wet and mild Mythbusters to breaking point.
We always use the blue
we
rope.
haven't.
Yes, we do.
Not for the breakaway.
Yes, we do.
But all that actually breaks are their voices. And in the cold dark of the next day, they once again prepare the good ship Mythity Split for its 25-mile-an-hour collision.
Cool.
Positions, everyone. Jess takes her place in the tow truck, and the rest of the team stand by, level with the crash zone.
Okay, Jess, are you ready?
Ready when you are.
All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1, drive.
All right, we're at 5 miles per hour.
Okay, gosh.
Now we're at 10 miles per hour. 15 miles per hour.
Yeah! It's picking up. Come on.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is gonna happen.
20 miles per hour.
Oh, it's perfect.
That's 25.
Here it goes, here it goes, here it goes, here it goes.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It hit it right on target.
Great job, you guys.
Well, the rig worked. And big things hitting big things always equals happy Mythbusters.
Look how much damage it didn't do to the channel markers.
Yeah!
Damn it. Oh.
But look at where the trailer is. It totally turned. It turned.
It worked.
25 miles per hour, you can see it for yourself. No bifurcation.
I guess the story might not have happened exactly as it was reported.
So we're gonna say 25 miles an hour, it's busted.
Oh, the story's busted at 25, and so is our trailer.
Dude, it worked perfectly
Definitely.
though. It turned right into the channel marker.
Yeah. Busted.
So, busted is the unanimous verdict. And a closer look at the boat reveals no evidence to the contrary.
Whoa.
God, it's
This is some serious damage, but no bifurcation.
Yeah, look at it.
Look at that, you guys.
It definitely indented, and it did do the turn.
It did do the turn exactly as we predicted.
I just don't think there was enough speed behind that momentum.
No, definitely.
If we were going faster though, I could definitely see it splicing through this thing.
Considering how much damage is done here, yeah, maybe if we were going a lot faster.
Regular viewers will guess what's coming next. But for the uninitiated, the MythBusters are never quite satisfied until...
I want to see some carnage.
So now the big question is, how are we gonna try to do another run with this trailer? Because we want to try to see if we can get a bifurcation at 50 miles an hour. That's gonna be the tricky part.
We don't got a lot of time here, and we need to fix the trailer. So we're going to try some quick and dirty methods to try to get this thing rolling. It doesn't have to roll well, it just has to go. So our first try is going to be to take that corner, chain it to the channel marker. And then we're going to take the other corner, and we're going to try to pull on it and maybe get the trailer to sort of reshape itself, almost sort of square.
It rolls! We might be able to do this again.
Then we're going to try to cut off the first two wheels so that the axles that are kind of bending into each other are gone. And then we'll just start dragging it. If it rolls at all, we're going to stick the boat on it, we're going to throw it back there, and we're going to drag it into this bad boy.
Yeah!
Looks good.
Yeah!
Huh?
I think we can do another run.
You get one single bad run, and that's it. One.
That's right. One single bad.
The prospect of high-speed carnage does wonders for the morale. And even another icy shower during the reset can't dampen their spirits.
Consider your next vacation to the runway at Alameda. Beautiful views of San Francisco and the Bay Bridge. Plenty of space to stretch out and smash big things into other big things. Rain? We got plenty of it. So call your travel agent. The runway at Alameda. Okay, escape plan, same as last time. If the boat's coming at you, run.
All right, so we busted the 25-mile-an-hour myth.
Yep.
So let's do this one.
All right.
Count it down.
Jess, you ready?
I'm more than ready.
All right, on my countdown. Ready in 3, 2, 1.
The question is a fan site favorite. If the birds in a truck take flight, is the truck lighter than when the birds are at rest? To answer, Adam and Jamie have weight on their minds.
The more I think about this, the more I think that not only do we need a really sensitive scale, but we also, well, if you think about the birds moving around in this truck, they're going to be shifting the weight of it. It's like, you know, you or I dancing on a bathroom scale. It's not a consistent weight. So we want to be able to graph the weight of this thing as it changes. We want to be able to look at the final thing as like points on a graph over time.
Well, you know, there are these things called load cells. They're an instrument that detects pressure, and maybe we could use those as a sensor that we put in each corner of the truck body and plug them into a computer. In fact, and now that I think about it, there was this company that approached me some time ago that has a computer that's made to take like 16 sensor inputs.
It could easily take the load cells as inputs, and they probably could graph it any which way we want.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Why don't you call those guys, and I'll get on finding us some load cells.
Okay.
Hey, Adam, how about this one?
This is going to be what weighs our truck. This is a load cell. We're going to put one under each corner, and as the trailer sits on this piece of metal will bend a little bit. That bend will be registered by a crystal on the side here, which will output a change in voltage through this wire that will be read by our computer and output as points on a graph over time. It measures up to 500 pounds down to a sensitivity of like 1/10 of an ounce. It is perfect for our needs.
And with this computer collating that info while providing a real-time graph of the changing weight of the trailer, Grant's inner geek gets out.
Sweet.
Now, all they need is a bunch of birds. And Jamie, undaunted by their recent failure, has a cunning plan.
I figure Jackson can be sort of a stool pigeon, I think they call it.
And because
that's a good solution, I think.
If he gets a bunch of visitors, we'll have a bunch of pigeons. All right?
I love it. I think it's great.
Good luck, Jackson.
Surrounded by bird feed, Jackson settles in for the free buffet. But once again, the local pigeons are just too smart. So the undaunted Jamie has been daunted.
I'm giving up.
And the only bird brain in a net is Adam.
We're not defeated by the task of catching pigeons. Even though it's not critical to this myth, it's a point of pride. We're going to catch some pigeons with MythBusters' invention. And I think it's going to be a web shooter.
It's the motto MythBusters live by. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
Jamie and I have discussed various plans, and I think we're going to build something similar to a potato cannon of plumbing parts made into an air chamber with an electrically operated valve and manifold that spreads 4 tennis balls with this net between them around our unsuspecting pigeons.
You ready?
All right, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, wow, that was cool.
That was cool. It works on Adam, but as we've seen, the pigeons round here are a lot smarter than the TV hosts. Shh, Jamie's hunting pigeons.
Now listen, I know that there are many tried and true methods for catching pigeons that are quite simple, and I know that you're going to email them to us. The fact is, we wanted to try a MythBusters solution.
But despite hardware Rambo would be proud of, the local pigeons remain as free as birds. Which means en route to the full-scale test, Kate, the pigeon wrangler, gets another call. And once again, comes up trumps.
How many is that? I think we got 36.
That ought to do it.
With the birds taken care of, Adam and Jamie can concentrate on setting up. And the abandoned naval yard is just perfect.
This is the same location that we used for Killer Cable Snap. And we used it because it's got a big flat welding grid that is a nice level surface. For Killer Cable Snap, we used it to weld to and anchor all the stuff for the cables. For birds on a truck, it makes a perfect platform for the trailer to be on because we need it super level. The next thing that we're going to do is jack this trailer up and put it on blocks. On the top of each block, in each corner, each of the 4 corners, will be a thing called a load cell.
With all 4 load cells in position, Grant and Jess set up at the command center. They'll monitor the weight of the trailer throughout the experiment.
Okay, so we've calibrated all of our load cells, which are the sensors that are going to tell us if there are any changes in the weight of the truck. Those are going into a computer. The computer's going to record all that information along with video in real time, so we can see if, when the birds fly up, if there are any changes in the weight.
And with the pigeons in position and not flying, the team has starting weight.
Okay, so that's a difference of 11 pounds with the birds in place. I'll zero everything out to that, and that'll be our starting point, right?
Right. So if the weight drops while the birds are flying, the myth is confirmed. It's go time.
Stand by, and I'm recording now.
Okay, I'm spinning the motors.
Jess, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back. Here's where we stand. We're trying to bust the myth that if you're driving with a truckload full of birds and they all take flight inside that truck, is it lighter than when they're just sitting there? We've tried a bunch of scale experiments, but all of the chambers we use for scale experiments were too small for the birds to fly around in, so we had to go full scale right away. This is our full-scale rig. It's sitting on 4 load cells. We've got calibrated computer equipment reading exactly the weight of those birds when they're sitting there. They're all going to fly at the same time. They can't land anywhere but these foam batons that are spinning and make them fly around. We're going to test this myth for real and see if it's true.
So the bird truck myth is about to shake its tail feathers.
Jess, in 3, 2, 1, go. They're all flying.
It's beautiful. Most of them are flying. That's great.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm going to call it, all right?
All right.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
And stopping.
Woo! That worked better than I thought it would. They all flew for like a good maybe 15 seconds.
That's great.
And the high-speed camera captures the moment.
All the work we did is to get this shot that you could see them all flying and be weighing it all at the same time. It's just stunning.
Yeah, it's all there, and this is synced with what's on the computer. This is great. Good job, you guys.
Nice work. Awesome.
But getting a truckload of birds to fly isn't the point. The question is, does the trailer get lighter?
So there's no difference when they were in the air.
No, but you can see minor fluctuations happening very quick. But
Well, what I see is the fluctuations have about the exact same amplitude both above and below the 0 point. I mean, it's a noisy signal, but here it's clear there's no difference.
Yeah, that's great.
Dude, that is beautiful. Although the data is quite noisy, which of course it would be with so many variables of 20 birds, it proves that the birds on a truck do not change the weight of that truck in any significant way.
So the myth is busted, but Jamie and Adam still aren't quite satisfied.
I think we busted this myth with the pigeons flat out. The data looks beautiful, but it's a bit noisy. This helicopter is going to be a very clean and stable signal. We should be able to see it on the graph much more steady than we see the birds. And this is the nail in the coffin for this myth. If we see no change in the weight of the trailer with a helicopter in it, it's busted again and once and for all.
Stepping up for the tricky task of flying the remote-controlled chopper is M5 shop assistant Chris. And his boss Jamie is full of encouragement.
Chris is well motivated to not crash the helicopter. It's a fairly expensive helicopter, so it'll just come out of his pay if he does any harm to it. Either that or I'll fire him.
With thoughts of unemployment crowding his mind, how could he fail?
Chris, we're ready to go when you want. Get that thing just a foot off the ground. Okay. Come on, baby. Whoa! Did you get a reading? Hold on. We're gonna have to take a look.
Can you kill it?
Unsurprisingly, that brief, disastrous flight doesn't yield any results.
Dude. All right. Why don't you go back to the shop and get your other helicopter, and we'll try and get a reading off of that one.
Let's try another one.
Yeah.
Chris, despite Jamie's ominous silence, believes he's still employed and soon returns with his own model chopper.
Chris, hover that puppy as you will.
Hey, Chris, tense much?
It's off.
Yeah! Okay, perfect. Shut it down. That was perfect.
There was no bother with that hover. But what about the results?
It's off the ground.
And the line's stable.
The line is totally stable.
And then when it gets back down.
Give me some, man. That is beautiful.
Perfect.
No wonder they're pleased with themselves. This is the myth that just wouldn't die.
This myth has been very persistent. It's been all over the fan site, it's been all over the web, and I'm glad we finally put it to rest. You can see what's going on here. It's very clear, especially with the helicopter. The helicopter is sitting there, its weight is on the trailer. And at a certain point, the props speed up appropriately. The weight is shifted away from the feet of the helicopter, and instead it's replaced by air pushing down on the trailer. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. There's no free lunch here. Busted.
Totally busted.
Well, I thought we did a great job of it. I mean, the rig worked really well.
Do you think this is going to somehow curb the furious debate on the fan site?
Of course not.
Yeah, I bet it won't either, but man, this is the final word because nobody else has ever gotten 20 birds flying simultaneously in a truck while weighing it every 10th of a second in your face. It's busted.
It's busted.
Gary, Grant, and Tori have drowned the myth that at 25 miles per hour, you can have 2 boats for the price of 1. But it wouldn't be MythBusters if the team didn't ramp it up in an attempt to replicate the results.
So we've already busted the myth. Bifurcated boat, 25 miles per hour into a channel marker, it's busted. But that's not what this is about. This is about actually splitting the boat in 2. So we set up a tow cable on each side of the channel marker. We're going for 50 miles an hour, and we're going to get this boat to split. Absolutely.
All right, on my countdown. Ready in 3, 2, 1.
The target speed is 50 miles an hour, and our tow trucker has his foot to the floor.
35.
Come on, faster, faster, punch it.
Well, it didn't bifurcate, but it was still pretty cool.
Once again, the mythity split didn't. As per the myth, contact was just to the port side, but despite the increased speed, the result was still only a glancing blow.
The way these are made is very, very strong. It's beautiful. It's not likely that something is going to split down the middle.
Yeah, you'd have to get a really good shot at a high velocity.
And whoever split that boat must have been going a lot faster than 45 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's
I'm guessing more like 80 or 90.
With the trailer gone, but the boat still intact, the team have to get creative to get satisfaction.
I need more carnage. We still have the crane, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the boat up about 100 feet and drop it on the ground. Then I'll be satisfied.
Go, 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 go!
Oops. I'm thinking that went down like a lead balloon with the crane driver.
We are in so much trouble.
Not yet. Yeah, we're kind of in trouble. A little trouble.
Yep, I wouldn't want to be the one to tell Jamie.
Whoa!
Oh!
Dang!
Okay.
Well, as Adam would say, there's your problem.
Did we get insurance on this truck? Anyone? All right, I know we didn't get bifurcation, but crashing that boat into the channel marker, that was cool.
I mean, we have a picture, we have a police report, and we know this kind of damage is possible.
Even at 45 miles per hour, we couldn't get that kind of damage.
So unlike the boat, this one's busted?
Busted.
Busted.